Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kaga, and we're going to set sail once again in World of Warships. And you know what? It's been a bit of a long week without having touched a ship, so let's go ahead and get down to business. The ship in front of you is the Tier 9 Japanese destroyer, the Kagero. And those of you who are paying attention will notice that I only have 2 consumable charges each. That's right, I'm only running the standard consumables, and I am also not running the superintendent. Captain skill. Well, what else would I have spent it on? Well, that's one of those nice new skills in 0.5.3 was introduced, the Torp acceleration skill. And the Kagero happens to have just the torpedoes to make that thing have a sting. Oh boy, these things can have one hell of a sting. The torpedoes that you can get just out of the box on the Kagero come in 2 flavors. They have the 57 knot, 15 kilometer torpedoes. That's 15 kilometer range. They're not actually 15 kilometers long. You know what I mean, right? Or you can choose to select the 20 kilometer ranged torpedoes, which go 62 knots. Now, the Torp acceleration skill, I actually quite like it right now. And it made the I believe is the Type 90 Mod 3s that the Kagero also shares with the Fubuki actually viable. In the fact that you can give up a 20% of your range to acquire an extra 5 knots of speed. And those annoyingly, I would hasten to add, they used to be terrible torpedoes for your typical PvP match. And I say that because there's just so much reaction time at 15 kilometers, even at 10 kilometers. It's just a gigantic amount of lead you have to give your targets. But now, those 15 kilometer torpedoes get dropped down to around 12 kilometers and they go 62 knots. Those more astute of you are now sitting there pondering what that would actually lead up to with the Kagero. Well, let me boil that down for you. That means that you can have 16 kilometer torpedoes. That's 16 kilometer range, by the way. There's no way you have a 16 kilometer long torpedo. Not on Earth, anyway. That go 67 knots. That's terrifying, and you just see the result of that sting with that ARP Myoko slamming straight into it, and the Baltimore that was with him didn't have enough time to evade the little periphery of that torpedo salvo. But it's not all good news when it comes to torpedoes in this patch, and I suspect this will remain the order of the day for future patches, is that the Vigilant skill was buffed. And when you start talking high tier battleships, the abilities of the target acquisition system, which I believe sometime in 5.2 it gained the ability to also spot torpedoes, both of these abilities were buffed. So that means that when it comes to doing well in your Japanese destroyers, or actually any of the long-range torpedo-carrying destroyers, that could include the Benson and any of those higher-tier American destroyers as well, in addition to the Fubuki, the Hatsuharu, the Kagero, as previously mentioned, and the much-dreaded Shimakaze. That means that this is very much a feast or famine type of thing, but boy, when it hits, oh boy, I don't even want to think about the damage. I think that this guy was left with something like around 2,000 health before he started using that old repair, like the HP regeneration ability. Whew, damn, nearly full health from that to that. Oof. Can we get like torpedo charge arming expert or something on these things to give a little bit more damage per torpedo in exchange for a little bit of speed? You know, just a little bit, just a little bit. A little bit would help. would have gotten him. It made me feel better. Wouldn't have had to waste time later on in the match. And there's the enemy Kagero. And one of those things that I love about the Japanese destroyers, those really punchy guns. They're really punchy. And right now we're going to dodge some fire, and whoa, lucky hit from that North Carolina. Knocked out my torpedo tubes, and woo! He locked up both of them with that single hit. And right now I'm kind of glad. I am really glad that World of Warships has very arcadey physics, because if those were armed, and yes, they are armed, because you can still see doesn't show up as the reloading right now. And if they were in mid-load and they got locked up, the timer would restart again from the minute 30 that it takes to load. Actually, it only takes like about a minute and 25 or so to load these things. Somewhere in that neighborhood. But you get this... if this was in reality and those were loaded or being loaded, this ship would cease to exist. High explosive, hitting the oxygen batteries of these torpedoes would be catastrophic for this ship. I forget which Japanese cruiser it was that got hit in its torpedo arming area, and it only like minutes before the captain had decided to have the torpedoes thrown overboard, and he later reported that single action probably saved his ship. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like an absolutely like devastating thing, but those of us who have worked with pure oxygen at any given amount of time can tell you how flammable and explosive that compound is. And these are the long lance torpedoes on the Kagero. Whew. The compressed oxygen, just evil. Evil. And holy RNGesus. Thank you, RNGesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are humbly in your grace right now. And you know, it's one of those things with and I'm not certain about this, you know, this whole feast or famine thing, because it really makes the game either a high to play or something just kind of in the back burner, you know? Admittedly, it's kind of difficult to balance this kind of game correctly if you don't have that element, because at its core it is one of those arcadey third-person shooters, and has very strong elements of like MMORPGs without the RPG-ness. So it's just like an MMO type thing, just where you're always in dungeon mode, I guess. And I really wish I had that front turret right about then. I really did. I probably could have ended that enemy Kagero right then and there. So, right now, it's kind of unfortunate at this point in the battle that we're out of smoke discharges. And I suppose that it does warrant bringing the premium consumable if you don't run Superintendent, but you probably don't need a fourth one, so probably don't need to run both. At least on the Japanese destroyers, especially the Fubuki, the Kagero, you really don't need to get that close, where you're always almost perma-spotted. And you're usually far enough away that even if you're being fighter camped, if you decide to fall back and start screening, you've got friendly AA assistance. So it's not a huge deal to be out that extra smoke screen. And, you know, you can always just be that guy that trolls the troll and, you know, becomes the counter troll and says, I don't care if you spot me. Keep spotting me. Keep wasting your aircraft over me. Keep going. Keep going. I don't care. One of these days, I'll shoot one of them down. So just get it close enough and tempt me to hit my P key. tempt me. So you only need to ask yourself, are you feeling lucky, punk? And the great Clint Eastwood references aside, we've hit that one point in every World of Warships game. Well, maybe not every World of Warships game, but, you know, most of them. And this point often involves the not so fun time, at least when you're watching it, in hindsight, of trying to go, where's the next enemy ship to sink? Where are they? Are they just around the bend? Though, I've got dive bomber problems, and I'm not going to use that whole damage control ability until after those next dive bombers hit, because being that low on health, yeah, no. Even with survivability expert, which gives at tier 9 gives me an extra 3600 health, yeah, no, that's not a good thing. Not good. But at the very least, those dive bombers have just signaled to me more or less where the enemy carrier is. Well, one of the two enemy carriers. I can see the enemy cruiser that's left up off there on our port side, probably around 11 kilometers off behind the islands. And the enemy carrier just came into view thanks to the Allied fighters spotting him. And additionally, the other carrier is approximately 15 kilometers to the south and has just been sunk. So it's just this enemy Hidu left. The enemy cruiser to the north, which is now getting a little closer than I'd like, with at around 10 kilometers, and 2 destroyers which are still at large. And now, I'm not really super worried about those enemy destroyers, because at this point, whatever happens, happens. If I round the bend and they're there, well, I'm probably screwed anyway. No point worrying about it. At the very least, let me throw a bit of a gambit down there towards the enemy Hidu in the form of some torpedoes. Now, is that a really likely firing solution to hit the target? No. But at the very least, it's something. It really is just something. If I corral him, I've basically done what I need him to do, so meh. Oh well, no big deal. Now, is that... You can start looking at it going, well, maybe you should have saved fire, maybe you shouldn't have. In this case, I pulled the trigger on that speculative shot because I didn't know where those enemy destroyers were at the time. I now see that they're firmly down there, but at the time I pulled the trigger, I didn't know they were down there. So putting them past there and putting in a potential last gambit seemed like a good idea at the time. Granted, right now, yeah, no. We can already see those not likely to hit, may get one, but most likely we won't because, you know, he's got planes that probably spotted them a little bit off, and the RNG of the torpedo spread gods said, not today, sonny, not today. And so the carrier manages to thread a very wide gap in our torpedoes, and I am really starting to miss that front turret, because if I had my front turret, I could shell him much sooner. But now I have to divert some of my speed going laterally in order to bring guns to bear onto target. But what that does is allow the very fast Hidu to put some distance between us, pulling him out of range. Oh, damn it. I swear, once I get this captain a little more experienced, I am going to grab advanced fire training on here, because this is annoying to have to do this. And again, I don't expect those to hit. I really don't. But nonetheless, they will spook him. A spook captain is less likely to make a competent decision, so yes, it's going to cost me credits to fire those torpedoes. I don't care. Ooh, hey, he's turning. Oh yeah, that island in the corner of the map exists. And if he had stayed still, he'd have been nuked. Awesome. So now he's in range. We're going to begin shelling the target. I don't think those allied dive bombers are going to hit their marks because they're coming under fire from enemy fighters and the Hidyu's AA. We're going to continue shelling. We got him on fire. Oh boy, can we finish the deal? We got another salvo off. Will those dive bombers catch up? Nope, we got him. And, whew, that wasn't that bad of a match, actually. Just shy of 240,000 credits, 3,200 experience with our daily modifier for a fair bit of work, yeah? Got that first blood with the devastating strike against that ARP Miyoko. Oh man, that moment just made my day when I saw that, and you kind of wish you have moments like that more often, but you can't get away from it, can you? So remember, the experience you gain is scaled by the relative tier of the targets you hit. Because we're top tier, the Nagato is able to squeeze out a little more experience than us in this particular battle. And there's no shame. He must have really pulled his weight in there. And as I recall, and if I recall correctly, he was steaming right front and center in that giant melee that in the beginning towards the center of the map rather than skulking off to the sides to take long shots. So he deserves that. He really does deserve that. Don't see too many battleship captains doing that. And we did a fair bit of work here. And just taking a quick stab at that kind of those numbers, it's around 135,000 damage that match. That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. Admittedly, some of that is down to stupidity. So, I don't know. You feel good about it, and at the same time you go, should I really feel good about it? I don't know. But, oh well, it was a good result. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. If you happen to be new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I'd like to see you around the channel a bit more. We'll pick up tomorrow with some more World of Warships content. And we'll pick up next week, more or less as we normally do. The World of Warships content, probably some World of Tanks. War Thunder Wednesdays will be making its grand return. And I do hope to get some more RB content up for you all. Hopefully they don't patch it again before I get the content. Please don't do that. And, of course, we'll be finishing off the week more or less as we do around the channel. Just doing some good stuff, good gameplay, or funny gameplay, whatever comes first, right? Oh yes, and before I forget, I am going to be starting up a new video series in the coming future. I have alluded to this and posted a poll in a previous video. The link to this poll, if you haven't already voted, will be in the video description below. The basic idea of this series is to go over some of the military classics of old, and with respect to the way we gamers might find the information useful. The current poll has two options on it, but what I'd like to know, and you can let me know in the comment box down below, is what you think about a format of this. Would you prefer to have it with gameplay in the background? Would you prefer to have it with static images or appropriate graphics or some mixture thereof? Do let me know. I'd love to make this a little bit more to what you expect out of this type of material, so go ahead, leave me your thoughts. I'm all ears. So, thank you for having bared with me for almost 20 minutes. Thank you, and I'd like to bid you a good day.